Part 50. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 491. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin were sitting and eating. The door was pushed open with a bang. An came in from the outside. When Chen Yakin saw it, she stood up and cursed. "Why did you come in? Didn't you see the words on the door, no unauthorized persons allowed in? Are you illiterate?" An had expected that what he would see would be a different scene. Unexpectedly, they were just sitting and eating. One was sitting at the table and the other was sitting on the sofa. They were even farther apart than when they were sitting face to face to eat in the staff cafeteria. An felt a little embarrassed for a moment. In addition, he was usually a submissive person in front of Chen Yakin, so he panicked now. "What are you doing here?" Chen Yakin shouted. An's face was pale. He pointed at the lamp above his head and stammered, I'll come, yes, I'll see if the lights here are broken." "Did you see it? Is it not broken? Get out, Chen Yakin scolded. An muttered something and walked out of the door. "Close the door, pig," Chen Yakin roared, and An could only close the door obediently. An went out, and Chen Yakin was still angry. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin said, "I think your attitude towards An is not good. Do I need to be nice to him?" "Who am I?" Chen Yakin scolded angrily. "He has a bad mouth and tells people that I am having sex with him all day long." "Humph, Chen Yakin, can see it. Him. He really wants to eat the flesh of a swan." "I'm not saying that I am a swan, designer Zhang, but this person is just a rotten person. He has been like this since he was a child." "Have you known An since you were a child?" "Of course, I told you, we are from the same village, we are in the same class in elementary school, junior high school and high school." Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Oh, we can be considered childhood sweethearts." "Shit," Chen Yakin rolled her eyes at Zhang Chen, "what a childhood sweetheart, he was a snot-nosed man when he was a child. He followed me every day and was beaten by me every day. When he grew up, did you see that he still has such a moral character? People in the factory said he's right, he's just soaked in dirt and is a coward. However, I think he looks quite handsome when he wears a suit after get off work," Zhang Chen said. "Humph, he looks like a dog, but it's just because he has a lot of money at home," Chen Yakin scolded disdainfully. "No matter how well you dress, you're still full of straw." Okay, let's not talk about him anymore. Besides, he doesn't even have food, I can't even eat it." The two of them ate in silence. After eating, Chen Yakin picked up the bowl and went out to wash it. Zhang Chen was not polite to her. He felt that the moment An came in just now had the smell of rape, and Chen Yakin must have felt it too. She is still angry because of this. Chen Yakin went out, and Zhang Chen sat there, feeling a little irritable. He didn't know why. He felt a little uneasy in his heart. Chen Yakin was not annoying. She was very beautiful, and she still had the kind of pure beauty. If a man didn't like it, there is a beautiful woman next to him who is considerate and takes care of himself. That must be hypocritical. It's not that you want to have a closer relationship with her, but at least your vanity can be satisfied. Which man doesn't have this kind of vanity? Moreover, Zhang Chen felt that he was sure that as long as he wanted to have a further relationship with Chen Yakin, they would definitely have a further relationship. This may be what makes Zhang Chen feel irritated. One thing Zhang Chen knows very well is that no matter how beautiful Chen Yakin is, he still feels that there is no more beautiful and better woman than Xiao Zhao in this world. With Xiao Zhao, even if he is sitting and doing nothing, Zhang Chen's heart is full. Even when he is doing things, as long as he hears Xiao Zhao's voice beside him, he will feel a sense of satisfaction. Indeed, since having Xiao Zhao, he seems to have no feelings for other women, including Chen Yakin. He feels that he and Xiao Zhao are really connected by flesh and blood and have become one. This is not just love. Zhang Chen felt irritated, not because his heart was in turmoil, but because he felt that Chen Yakin was by his side now. Not only was it not helpful for him to complete this task as quickly as possible, but it might have an impact. He didn't know what impact it would have. But there was no way he could say this to Chen Yakin. In essence, Zhang Chen is still a shy, reserved, and even cowardly person. Let alone hurt a woman who has good intentions and even some love for him. Even if he is asked to brush off other people's kindness, he will do it. He felt embarrassed, just like the more Chu Tianlin invited him to stay at her home, the more embarrassed Zhang Chen became, but he would not say it out loud. The door opened and Director Li walked in with a stack of paper in his hand. Zhang Chen stood up from the sofa and called, "Director Li." Director Li looked at the sand table. The floor of the factory area had been prepared and some factory buildings had been glued on. Director Li said, "Not bad, Xiao Zhang. He moves very quickly." He came over and said to Zhang Chen, "Xiao Zhang, I want you to do me a favor." Zhang Chen quickly said, "Director Li, you can just tell me whatever you want me to do." "Hey, Xiao Zhang, you are so polite." Director Li smiled and said, "Well, you are good at handwriting. Can you help me write some slogans?" "Okay, no problem." It's such a small matter, why should Director Li be so polite? "Oh, as you know, the people in our factory are all farmers and have no education. Whenever I want to write slogans like this, I have to go out and find someone to write them. You just happen to be here, so I don't have to run." Zhang Chen smiled. He knew that Director Li, like many others, mistakenly thought that being literate meant writing well. In fact, there was not much direct connection. There were many highly educated people who still had ugly handwriting, like Lu Ligan has written many times more words than himself, but God knows, his words are like dried chicken feet standing there. However, some people who don't know many words can write very well. This kind of writing still requires some talent. However, it is really rare for people who draw like them to write ugly words. Chinese characters are hieroglyphics after all. If you are a painter and you don't even have the ability to draw gourds, then your paintings will be useless. It's certainly not much better. Zhang Chen put away everything on the table. Director Li put down the stack of paper in his hand. Zhang Chen understood that this was a diamond shape for taking paper. They wrote one word on each piece of paper. They then used pins to write the paper one by one. Paper, pinned to the bright red banner. Zhang Chen poured the ink into a tea vat, moistened his pen, and asked Director Li, "What words should I write?" Director Li took out a piece of paper from his pocket, opened it, placed it on the table in front of Zhang Chen, and said to him, "Just write these 3 paintings." Zhang Chen saw 3 slogans on the paper, namely: 1. Conscientiously implement the spirit of the Southern Inspection Speech, work hard and get started. 2. Learn the spirit of the Southern Tour Speech and adhere to the path of reform and opening up. 3. Reform and opening up should be more liberating, more courageous, and faster. Zhang Chen asked curiously, "Director Li, what is the Southern Tour Speech?" "You don't even know about the Southern Tour Speech." Director Li was more curious than Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen said with a smile, "I am in this studio every day, dealing with these foam plastics and plexiglass. How can I know what is happening outside?" That's true, Director Li nodded and said, "This Southern Tour Speech is Xiaoping's Southern Tour. He said a lot of very important things. Now it is the top priority in the country. In this way, I will ask Xiaoqin to give it later. You send a newspaper down, and all the newspapers will publish this article. It is so good, especially for a private enterprise like ours, it is really reassuring." Comrade Xiaoping also said this. Zhang Chen asked, pointing to the 3rd slogan. Director Li nodded, and Zhang Chen said, "That's indeed a good idea. When Zhang Chen said this, he suddenly thought of Lu Ligan and Meng Ping. He felt that these two guys would be very happy to see such words. That's right, there are a lot of good things to say. You'll know when you read it later, Director Li said. When Zhang Chen wrote a word, Director Li took a word and spread it on the ground first, waiting for the ink to dry. There were too many words to spread on the floor. Then he spread it on the sand table, and soon the sand table was full. After all the words were written, Zhang Chen had no place to work. He asked Director Li to sit on the sofa and sat down on the swivel chair. Director Li was a photography enthusiast and took good photos. The two of them still had something in common. The topic naturally turned to framing, composition, color tone, color temperature and so on. When the ink on those words dried during the conversation, Director Li was about to put them away and leave. He seemed to have something to say, but he hesitated. Zhang Chen couldn't ask more questions, so he could only help Director Li pick up the words one by one. Put away the square paper and fold it again in the order of the slogans. Director Li only needs to spread it out one by one from top to bottom when he takes it up. Director Li took the words in his hand and finally summoned up the courage. He said, "Xiao Zhang, why did I hear people say that you and Xiao Qin are talking about boyfriend and girlfriend? Is that true?" Zhang Chen laughed when he heard this. He said without thinking, "How is that possible? I'm already married and my wife is about to give birth to a baby." Director Li seemed to be relieved and said with a smile, "Haha, that's it? I just said those people were talking nonsense and making up lies." He waved the words in his hand and said to Zhang Chen, "Let's go, thank you, Xiao Zhang." Zhang Chen quickly said, "Director Li, please don't be polite. If you need me next time, just give me a call." "Okay, thank you," Director Li walked away with a smile. "Thank you for your monthly ticket to Smile and Run Y. Thank you for all the recommendation votes and reading. I wish everyone good health." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 492. Chen Yakin didn't come all afternoon. Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Starting today, he was going to work overtime to build the plexiglass office building first. This was the highlight of the whole sandbox and the center of gravity. This office building, when the building is finished, the entire sand table lights up. The office building is made of plexiglass, which requires the most work and must be made with great care. If the workmanship is not fine enough, it will not be a highlight, but a drawback, and the entire sand table will be destroyed. Zhang Chen estimates that this building, the office building, takes at least 4 days and nights to make. Zhang Chen first drew the required cutting pieces on the plexiglass board, then used a utility knife and ruler to cut the entire piece of plexiglass into small pieces, and then used a manual wire saw to cut the pieces. Saw it off. After sawing it off, use a file and water sandpaper to polish it carefully. After the polishing is completed, use a cotton swab dipped in chloroform to stick together the pieces of plexiglass. Plexiglass is very brittle, so you have to be very careful when sawing, filing, or polishing. If you are not careful, it will crack and the entire piece will be scrapped. All previous efforts will be wasted and you will have to start over. Be very careful when using chloroform to stick pieces of plexiglass together. Chloroform is very corrosive to plexiglass. As long as a drop of plexiglass is dropped on the plexiglass, it will bubble or dent, and the area will look like it is sticky. The nasal discharge turned into frosted opaque, and there was nothing that could be done to save it. Especially when gluing the plexiglass at the back, if chloroform accidentally drips on the previously made parts, the damage will be catastrophic, and you will have to redo the previously made parts. At the bonding point between two pieces of organic glass, if chloroform is applied too little, the adhesion is not enough, and if too much chloroform is applied, not only will the cut be deformed, but when they are bonded together, a crooked seam will be exposed, and the bonding point will be like a scar created by a quack, leaving a very thick adhesive line. The entire production, like those haphazardly installed tiles in the bathroom, will look rough at first glance. Zhang Chen is a perfectionist, so he does not allow himself to make any mistakes and must go all out. The entire office building is made of transparent plexiglass, which requires that even the inside of the building must be made very finely, and light-emitting diodes must be installed inside. When it is lit, even the smallest flaws will be exposed under the light. Zhang Chen first drew a three-dimensional drawing of the entire office building on paper, and then based on the drawing, as well as the dimensions and materials on the drawing, he worked from the inside of the building to the outside bit by bit. This is the easiest and most efficient way to do so. It makes sense. After everything inside is built, and then the outer facade and roof are glued on, the office building is complete. Zhang Chen really wanted to know what the Southern Tour speech was. He was looking forward to Chen Yakin coming, but he was also a little afraid of her coming. He could also go upstairs and get the newspaper by himself. It was the same problem. He wanted to see Chen Yakin, but he was also a little afraid of it. To her. Wanting to see her, Zhang Chen himself had to admit that after so many days, he had become accustomed to Chen Yakin's presence. Without her, Zhang Chen seemed a little empty in his heart. He didn't want to see her. It was because he vaguely felt that if you get too close to Chen Yakin, there will be a lot of trouble later. It can be seen from Director Li's previous question that the relationship between himself and Chen Yakin must have been widely spread in the factory, otherwise even Director Li would not know about it, and from the tone of Director Li's question, he didn't like to see Zhang Chen and Xiaoqin talking about boyfriend and girlfriend, so when Zhang Chen told him that it was impossible, he seemed to be relieved. Zhang Chen worked attentively for more than 2 hours. It was all fine work. His eyes, hands, feet, and back were a little sore. He sat on the sofa next to him and rested for a while. He took a piece of clothing to cover his thighs and closed his eyes. On the eyes. As soon as he closed his eyes, Zhang Chen would naturally think of Xiao Zhao. Xiao Zhao should be at work at this moment. She was mopping from room to room, putting the mop into the bucket, and carrying the bucket to the sink to wash the mop. Zhang Chen seemed to see Xiao Zhao. While washing, she was very careful not to let water splash on the wrist of her left hand. She tied a towel there, but if too much water splashed on it, it would still make the towel wet. The Zhang Chen watch under the towel was stained. Zhang Chen laughed softly. He opened his eyes and saw the foam. He suddenly had an idea. He quickly got up and turned on the foam cutting machine. He cut a long strip of foam and then cut it into the shape of an arm. Zhang Chen decided to draw a Zhang Chen watch on Bubble's arm every day so that he could give it to Xiao Zhao when he returned to Hangzhou. The water from the pen seeped when it touched the foam. Zhang Chen found a pile of waste foam and tried it on it. After trying for a long time, he finally got the hang of it, and then he started to draw on the foam arm. He decided to draw at 12 o'clock today and 1 o'clock tomorrow, so he would paint an hour a day. By the time he should draw back to 12 o'clock, his work here would be almost finished. He can go home with this foam arm. Zhang Chen finished drawing today's watch, put it in the cabinet, then sat back at the workbench and continued working. Unconsciously, it was 5 o'clock, and Chen Yakin still didn't show up. Zhang Chen thought that it was probably Director Li who came upstairs and said something to her. Maybe he told her that he was married. Thinking about it now, Zhang Chen felt that he and Chen Yakin had never talked about this issue. If they had talked about it, he would have told her calmly that he was married. Now it is up to Director Li to tell her. Well, that saves you a lot of trouble. She didn't mention it, but I told her that I was married. Isn't it a bit abrupt or even inexplicable? What does it have to do with Chen Yakin whether you get married or not? If people don't ask, it means that they have nothing to do with them and don't care at all. Maybe you think they are interested in you, but you are overthinking it. Zhang Chen stood up, took off his work coat, hung it on the row of hooks, and prepared to go to the cafeteria to eat. Before he could reach the door opened and Chen Yakin walked in from the outside, holding 4 bowls in her hands, 2 stacked on top of the other. When she saw Zhang Chen, she shouted, "Quick, quick, take it, it's not strong anymore." Zhang Chen quickly took the 2 bowls on top, which contained 2 bowls of vegetables. Zhang Chen put the dishes on the table and asked curiously, "Why are you still here? Aren't you already off work?" Chen Yakin said, "Don't you work overtime at night now? From today on, I won't go back at night. I'm here to help you." Zhang Chen quickly said, "No need, really, I really don't need it here." Chen Yakin glanced at him and said, "Of course you need it. It's so boring to work alone at night. I'm here. Even if I can't help, it's good to talk to you. But, didn't you say that your home is far away from the factory? If you go back too late tonight..." Chen Yakin waved her hand, interrupted him, and said to him, "I have made arrangements for the afternoon. I have arranged a bed for myself in the female workers' dormitory building. I won't go back to sleep at night." It turned out that she hadn't come all afternoon and had gone to arrange a place for herself to stay. Zhang Chen felt like he wanted to say something, but he didn't know where to start. "They just said that he would help you with the work. You are too much of a dick, but it seemed that you thought too much and were too petty." Zhang Chen could only shake his head helplessly. "Come here for dinner. The food is almost cold. Look, I asked the chef in the cafeteria to cook 2 stir-fries today to celebrate," Chen Yakin said. "Celebrating what?" "Celebrate." Chen Yakin tilted her head and thought for a while, but couldn't think of a reason. Instead, her face turned red first, and she muttered, "Ignore it, I'm very happy today anyway, so I'll celebrate happily." Zhang Chen said, "Okay, happy celebration, let's have dinner." Chen Yakin smiled and picked up the bowls and chopsticks. The 2 of them chatted while eating, and the atmosphere became very harmonious. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin said, "Director Li came here in the afternoon. I know, you wrote those slogans. We all said they were better than the previous ones." Chen Yakin said, "I arranged the bed in the afternoon and put up the slogans upstairs. I had to write so many words pinned to the banner, so no time to come down." Zhang Chen suddenly realized, he said tentatively, "Here in the afternoon, Director Li talked about you. Humph, he definitely doesn't have anything nice to say about me, right? I'm too lazy to pay attention to this old pervert. If he pisses me off one day, I'll give him a slap in the face," Chen Yakin said. Zhang Chen was surprised. He didn't expect Chen Yakin to react like this. He asked, "Director Li, what did he do to you?" "He, looks at me all the time. Let me tell you, what does he always want me to do? He always tells me that if he wants to take some artistic photos of me, he will definitely take me beautifully. He always says that I am very elegant and pure, and whether I am pure or not is none of his business, don't you think?" Zhang Chen was a little embarrassed and didn't know how to answer. Chen Yakin continued, "What's even more outrageous is that he showed me some picture albums. They were all foreigners. Oh my God, what are those? There are some exposed here and the back. It's all exposed." It seemed that she didn't mind talking about this in front of Zhang Chen, but she did mind when Director Li wanted to talk to her. "Tell me, what kind of artistic photos are you taking? Does this old pervert want me to take such a thing just to be a gangster?" Chen Yakin shouted. "You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 493. After dinner, Chen Yakin packed up the tableware and went out to wash it. Zhang Chen continued to work. He took the sawed plexiglass and carefully filed it bit by bit with a file. After filing, he carefully polished it with water sandpaper. Chen Yakin came back and stood on the side to take a look. She said, "Come on, I can do this job." As she said this, she thought of it and said to Zhang Chen, "There is a newspaper that the old pervert asked me to bring to you. I almost forgot about it." As she spoke, Chen Yakin took out a piece of Qianzhong Evening News from her bag and handed it to Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen saw the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone daily report reproduced above. The eastern wind is full of spring. Zhang Chen was immediately attracted. As he sat there looking, Chen Yakin patted him on the shoulder and said to him, "Get out of the way. You go to the sofa and watch." Zhang Chen stood up and walked to the sofa. Chen Yakin asked, "Are you just filing to the lines you drew?" Zhang Chen said, "Yes, file it here first, file it flat, and then polish it with sandpaper." "Okay, I understand, you can read the newspaper," Chen Yakin said and started to work. The report was very long, half a page on the front page and a full page on the second page. Zhang Chen read it once and then again. Putting down the newspaper, he felt filled with emotion. He felt that his judgment in the afternoon was correct. Lu Ligan and Meng Ping would probably go crazy after seeing this report. The whole Heikan would definitely be lively after this report came out. Zhang Chen couldn't help but ask, "Where can I make long-distance calls?" "You want to make a long-distance call? Right. In the back dormitory area, there is a card phone in the corridor at the door of the activity room. You can make calls." Chen Yakin said, stood up, found a magnetic card from her bag, handed it to Zhang Chen, and told him, "I don't know how much money is on it, or you can try it. If it doesn't work, I will get another one tomorrow." Zhang Chen said, "Thank you, I have a magnetic card." "You have no use for that, take it," Chen Yakin said. Zhang Chen took the magnetic card from Chen Yakin's hand and walked out. The dormitory area is at the back of the factory and is connected to the factory by a small door. However, this small door is only open when people are on duty to check attendance during commuting. It is closed now. To go to the dormitory area at this time, you must leave the factory. Then follow a road outside the factory wall and go to the end. There is the gate of the dormitory area. When Zhang Chen was walking on the road, he always felt as if someone was following him. When he looked back, he saw no one. Zhang Chen walked to the dormitory area and found the two magnetic card phones that Chen Yakin mentioned in the corridor at the door of the activity room. There were people making calls on each of them, and there were 5 or 6 people waiting next to them. Zhang Chen waited until the back. In the activity room, some people were playing table tennis, some were playing recreational chess, and some were playing cards. It was messy and noisy. Everyone here used to shout on the phone, holding a hand with one hand. He was holding the microphone and covering his other ear with one hand. When it was Zhang Chen's turn, Zhang Chen first called Xiao Zhao. In such an environment, with everyone watching him eagerly, he really had nothing to say to himself. Zhang Chen only told Xiao Zhao that he was fine here and his work was going well, and asked Xiao Zhao to pay attention to his health. Then he told Xiao Zhao that it was very noisy here and there were people around. Xiao Zhao understood. She kissed Zhang Chen on the phone. Zhang Chen was embarrassed to kiss him back in full view of everyone. Xiao Zhao knew it, giggled on the phone, kissed him again, and then hung up the phone. Zhang Chen then called Lu Ligan. The call was not connected and there was a busy signal. Lu Ligan should be on the phone. Zhang Chen said to the person waiting behind him, "I'm sorry, there's a call over there, I'll dial another one." He held the phone without moving away. After a minute, he dialed again, but the signal was still busy. Zhang Chen was embarrassed to hold the phone anymore, so he gave up his seat and moved to the back of the queue. When it was his turn, he dialed, but the signal was still busy. Zhang Chen cursed in his heart, he must be picking up another girl. Zhang Chen thought for a moment and dialed Meng Ping's phone. After the phone rang, he picked up and it was Qian Fang. As soon as Qian Fang heard the voice on the phone, he shouted, "Is it Mr. Zhang? Hello, hello. You guys, right now." Zhang Chen said that Xiao Zhao and I are both fine, thank you. Zhang Chen asked about the situation in Haikan, and Qian Fang probably told him that Zhang Chen was standing there, listening with his right ear, and covering his left ear with his left hand. Even so, he could only hear half of it clearly, and the other half could be heard clearly. Guess. Qian Fang and Zhang Chen said, Lao Meng has gone downstairs to see off the guests. Tell me your number and I'll ask him to call you when he comes back. Zhang Chen thought to himself, the calls here are coming one after another. I am telling you, you can't get through even if you call me. He said to Qian Fang. No, it's nothing. I just want to know how you are doing. I'll call Lao Meng in a few days. Okay, goodbye, Mr. Zhang. Say hello to Xiao Zhao for me. No, give her a kiss for me. Qian Fang buzzed on the phone and then hung up. Zhang Chen smiled, and then he dialed Lu Ligan's number again, but the signal was still busy. Oh my god. Zhang Chen retreated and stood aside for a while. After thinking about it, he decided to forget it and go back. In such an environment, even if the phone was connected, there was nothing to say in a hurry. Zhang Chen returned along the original road. Over in Haikan, Lu Ligan was talking to Mr. Zhang on the phone. The two were talking and laughing, excitedly discussing the sale of the house in the future. They had been on the phone for more than an hour, until Lu Ligan's eldest brother the battery is finished. As Zhang Chen walked back, he still felt someone following him. He looked back and saw nothing. Zhang Chen himself found it funny. He thought about why he was so suspicious today. Zhang Chen returned to the studio and returned the magnetic card to Chen Yakin. Chen Yakin asked, had it been typed? Zhang Chen nodded. He looked at the table and saw that Chen Yakin had filed and polished all the plexiglass pieces he had left on the table. Chen Yakin said, check it to see if it is up to standard. Zhang Chen took a look and couldn't help but admire Chen Yakin's skillful hands, and every piece of cutting was filed to perfection. Even if he did it by himself, he would probably be able to do it like this. Zhang Chen praised, that's great, your hands are so skillful. Thank you, Chen Yakin smiled sweetly. Next, the two people divided the work. Zhang Chen was responsible for sawing, and Chen Yakin was responsible for filing and grinding. The two people worked like this, very efficiently, and completed a bunch of cutting pieces in one night. Zhang Chen saw that it was already 9 o'clock, and told Chen Yakin to get off work. That's all for today. Chen Yakin said yes. The two locked the door of the studio and walked outside. Zhang Chen lived in the guest house in the factory. The so-called guest house was a dormitory in the factory dormitory area that was converted into a unit. It is prepared for the truck drivers who come here to deliver and pull goods, as well as the customers coming and going from the company. On the 5th floor, there are two renovated suites, which are for more important clients. Zhang Chen currently lives in one of them. Chen Yakin lived in a dormitory for female workers nearby. The two of them walked out of the factory gate and went to the dormitory area. While walking on the road, Zhang Chen still felt that someone was following them. He couldn't help but look back, but he still didn't see anyone. What are you looking at? Chen Yakin asked. Zhang Chen quickly said he didn't see anything. The two continued to walk forward for a while, and Chen Yakin said, ignore him. Zhang Chen's heart skipped a beat and asked, what did you say? I said ignore him, that bastard is behind, he's keeping an eye on us. Zhang Chen couldn't help but keep a little distance from Chen Yakin. Chen Yakin felt it, and she came closer again, closing the distance. Zhang Chen looked back again, and Chen Yakin said, you can't see him. Then how do you know he is following us? Zhang Chen asked. I knew it when I came back from getting food. You saw it? Don't look, Chen Yakin snorted and cursed. This guy has been like this since he was a child. This is his virtue. When I was a child, I beat him and drove him away. He followed me like this, 5 or 6 times from school to my house. He just keeps following me like this, every time. After a pause, Chen Yakin scolded again, I haven't learned other skills, but I just learned this. He is like a spy, so you can't find him. The two of them walked to the downstairs of Zhang Chen's building and stood down. Chen Yakin was really hoping that Zhang Chen would say, go up and sit down, but Zhang Chen didn't. Zhang Chen just said see you tomorrow and went upstairs. Chen Yakin stood there a little disappointed. She watched Zhang Chen's figure disappear. She felt that they were fine tonight. Zhang Chen would have told her whether he wanted to go up and sit down. The reason why he didn't say it was completely because of that bastard. Chen Yakin turned around and walked towards the door of the dormitory area. She walked slowly on purpose. When she was about to reach the door, she suddenly started running. When she ran to the door, she saw a black figure panicking and running towards the distance. Chen Yakin, he yelled, stop the hum. The black figure stopped, turned around, and stood there laughing. When Chen Yakin approached, he asked, why don't you go home? Do you want to sleep with this curly hair? Chen Yakin shouted at him, yes, I just want to sleep with him. We have already slept with him. Do you care? Thank you U205153936 for your monthly ticket. Thank you for all the recommendation votes and reading. I wish everyone good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 494. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin were working. Mr. Ni walked in. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin stood up quickly. Mr. Ni came over and looked at the table and said, so soon, are you building an office building? Zhang Chen said, thanks to Ziokin for helping me. I couldn't go so fast alone. Chen Yakin softly called Mr. Ni something in the local dialect of Kikiao, but Zhang Chen didn't hear it clearly. Mr. Ni looked at Chen Yakin without saying a word, with an expressionless face. Chen Yakin stopped talking and slipped out quietly from behind Mr. Ni. Zhang Chen asked Mr. Ni to sit on the sofa. Mr. Ni sat down and asked, Xiao Zhang, I remember hearing Chu Tianlin say that you seemed to be in Hainan before. Zhang Chen was right, he just came back during the Spring Festival this year. Then do you know about the situation in Hainan? Mr. Ni asked. Zhang Chen asked Mr. Ni, what aspects does Mr. Ni need to know? Hi, I have a few friends who have been making appointments with me for the past 2 days, saying that we would go to Hainan to do real estate together. They said it would make money quickly. Zhang Chen smiled and said, I do know a little bit about this. I have a few friends who are engaged in real estate in Hainan. Mr. Ni became interested and said, then tell me quickly. Zhang Chen briefly talked to Mr. Ni about the situation in Hainan, especially what Meng Ping and Lu Ligan were doing. Mr. Ni nodded as he listened. Zhang Chen concluded by saying, I think there are definitely opportunities to make money in Hainan's real estate, especially after the speech on the southern tour. I called yesterday and asked. Indeed, Haikan's real estate is now hot, and land and house prices are rising, almost every day. It's a price, but there's one thing I really can't figure out. What's the matter? Mr. Ni asked. I was just thinking that no matter how this house is built, it will always be for people to live in. But Haikan is not as big as Shaoxing. The population of Haikan is probably not even half of Shaoxing's. Moreover, Haikan's locals are not even half of Shaoxing's. In the old city, they all have their own houses in the old city, and the new city is not even accessible. There is a triangle area in Haikan, which is the junction of the old city and the new city. After this area, there are all Hainanese who speak the local Hainan dialect. On the other side, there are people from all over the mainland who speak Mandarin. Hainan natives don't have much money, so I thought, if so many houses were built, who would they sell them to? Also, there are no big companies in Hainan. There are just a Haikan cannery that makes coconut juice, a health center that makes turtle pills, and a Hainan Automobile Co., Limited that makes Hainan Mazda. That car doesn't seem to be able to be sold across the sea. The most important thing is that these factories are not big in scale. None of them is as big as Mr. Ni's factory. I don't think the enterprises in Hainan are as big as Kikiao. I think this means the future of Hainan real estate. In fact, it has no other economic support. I don't know if that's right. You're right. I didn't expect you, a designer, to be quite financially savvy. Mr. Ni smiled and said, I finally heard it. There are opportunities and risks in real estate in Hainan. Zhang Chen nodded. He wanted to say, not only can I design, but I have also been a general manager, so I know more or less about this area. But he said nothing, thinking that there was no point in saying this. Mr. Ni patted the armrest of the sofa and said, I didn't think well, and I wanted to stick to my own business and focus on doing it well. But you also know that in Kikiao, the competition in our industry is becoming more and more fierce. Everyone is fighting for scale, and if they continue to fight, they are not only fighting for money, but also their lives. Sometimes I think that if there is an opportunity in other industries, I would like to try it. But, to be honest, I'm worried about going into other industries. After all, I'm in a different industry. I'm worried that if I step in without knowing the depth, I won't know how I'll die. Zhang Chen nodded and said that indeed, this was a dilemma. Mr. Ni stood up and said to Zhang Chen, okay, I understand. Thank you, Xiao Zhang. I will digest what you said carefully. It is very valuable. That's right, Zhang Chen smiled. Mr. Ni is too polite. Mr. Ni reached out and patted Zhang Chen's shoulder twice before walking out. Not long after Mr. Ni walked out, Chen Yakin came back after a while. Zhang Chen looked at Chen Yakin and said with a smile, you seem a little afraid of Mr. Ni. Why am I afraid of him? We are from the same village. After all, he is still my cousin. As you adults are talking, shouldn't children stay away, Chen Yakin said, and Zhang Chen laughed. The two of them continued to work until it was time to eat. Zhang Chen was going to get food. Chen Yakin said, I will beat you. If you go, those people will bully you. If I go, they will beat me more. Zhang Chen knew that Chen Yakin was referring to the master chefs in the cafeteria. Why did they bully him? Could it be that he had already aroused public anger here? Damn it, I don't leave my house, why did I offend you? Zhang Chen stood up and said that I would go too and we would go to the cafeteria to eat. Chen Yakin looked at him and asked, really? Zhang Chen smiled and said, of course it's true. It's just a meal. Why, someone else wants to eat me? No, no, who dares? Chen Yakin said happily, let's go. When they arrived at the staff canteen, it was still the same as before. Chen Yakin asked Zhang Chen to fetch food, and she went to fetch the food herself. Zhang Chen knew what she meant. There was no difference between fetching food and fetching rice, so she let herself go. Zhang Chen prepared the meal and found an empty table to sit down. After a while, Chen Yakin came over with dishes and sat down opposite Zhang Chen. The people beside him looked at them, wanting to laugh but not dare to laugh. Chen Yakin looked around, picked up a chopstick of food with chopsticks, put it in Zhang Chen's bowl, and told him, eat it, this food is not bad. Zhang Chen chuckled when he heard someone next to him. Out of the corner of his eye, Zhang Chen saw Owen standing not far away, holding food in his hand. There were two people beside him. The two people said something to Owen, and even pushed him. Taking the food, he walked towards them, walked to their table, and put the food on the table. Zhang Chen looked up at him, stood up quickly, and said to him, "I'll sit here for you." "Sit down." Chen Yakin shouted in a low voice. She looked at Zhang Chen and bit her lips tightly without even raising her head to look at Ayan. Zhang Chen was a little embarrassed. He felt that it was not good for him to continue sitting or standing up. After thinking for a while, he still smiled with Chen Yakin and said, "I'd better go to the side to eat." Zhang Chen stood up, took his food, and sat down at the table next to him, with his back to Chen Yakin and Ayan. Ayan sat down on the seat where Zhang Chen had been sitting. Just as he was about to say something, Chen Yakin slapped the rice spoon on the table and cursed, "Get out! Why are you sitting here? Are you sitting here? I can't even eat here, so get out." Inside the cafeteria, there was deathly silence. Everyone stopped holding spoons and chopsticks and looked at this side. Only Zhang Chen continued to eat his food as if nothing had happened. Chen Yakin stared at Ayan. Ayan's face turned red, but he did not stand up. Chen Yakin picked up a bowl with one hand, popped twice, turned the two bowls and the food inside upside down on the table, then picked up the two empty bowls and left. Everyone around looked at Ayan and then at Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen was still eating by himself, as if he didn't hear what happened behind him. Zhang Chen returned to the studio. After a while, Chen Yakin came in. The two of them had made an appointment. No one mentioned what happened in the staff canteen. Zhang Chen asked, "It's lunch break, why don't you take a break?" No. Chen Yakin shook her head, but her eyes were already red. Zhang Chen didn't have much to ask. The two sat in silence for a while. Zhang Chen picked up the handsaw and sawed the plexiglass. As soon as he cut off a piece of plexiglass, Chen Yakin immediately took it over and started filing it with a file, as if she was waiting by the side. Even the air in the room was frozen, and all I could hear was the sound of a wire saw cutting through the plexiglass, a magnetic puller, and a file filing against the plexiglass. After more than half a minute, the two people accidentally looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. With this smile, the atmosphere in the studio began to become relaxed. When it was time to have dinner, Zhang Chen picked up the bowl. Chen Yakin took the bowl from his hand and said softly, "I'd better go and get it back." In Zhang Chen's heart, he was really afraid that he would not persevere if he experienced what he had experienced at noon again. Chen Yakin walked out of the door, and Zhang Chen took out the foam arm from the cabinet. From morning to now, he had not had a chance to be alone with himself. He would use this time to draw today's Zhang Chen brand watch. Zhang Chen finished drawing the watch and put the foam arm back into the cabinet. After a while, Chen Yakin came back, still carrying 4 bowls, but she didn't say quick when she came in this time, so she couldn't hold them firmly. Zhang Chen saw it and quickly walked over and took the 2 bowls stacked on top of the 2 bowls. Chen Yakin said, "Thank you." During the meal, Chen Yakin was a little unhappy. Zhang Chen deliberately ate loudly and kept saying it was delicious. He asked Chen Yakin, "What are we celebrating today?" Chen Yakin couldn't help laughing, and finally giggled. She said that she was just celebrating the discovery of a coward today who would only run away from the battle. Zhang Chen also laughed. "It turns out that you still remember this. But why don't I just run away?" Zhang Chen thought to himself. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 495. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin worked hard for several days. After dinner that day, it was only 8 o'clock. The model of the office building was coming to an end. After Zhang Chen glued the plexiglass on the 4 walls, he said to Chen Yakin, "You can glue the roof together." "Me?" Chen Yakin was surprised, "Can I?" Zhang Chen smiled and said, "Of course." Chen Yakin hesitated for a while, then she said, "Yes, I'll do it." The roof of the office building has a concave-shaped flat roof. Chen Yakin first used a cotton swab to lightly apply chloroform around the concave-shaped piece of plexiglass, and then left it to dry while the chloroform was applied to the plexiglass. You have to watch the time, wait for the moment when it corrodes the plexiglass softly and begins to harden again, then align its edges with the cutout in the wall and glue them together. This allows for a perfect bond, leaving the tiniest bonding line. After coating the roof, Chen Yakin used cotton swabs to apply chloroform on the incisions in the surrounding walls. This was a step that required special care. Not even a drop of chloroform could drip down or flow down the plexiglass wall, which would cause it to smear on the walls. There was a trace like a snail crawling on the plexiglass wall. Chen Yakin held her breath and evenly applied chloroform on the surrounding incisions. She looked at Zhang Chen, who smiled and nodded, indicating that it was okay. Chen Yakin picked up the roof that was hanging aside and looked at Zhang Chen again. Zhang Chen still smiled and encouraged her. Chen Yakin pinched both sides of the concave plexiglass with the index fingers of both hands, and placed it on the plexiglass wall without leaning to either side. Then, following Zhang Chen's example, she gently followed Zhang Chen's example with her fingers. The ground was mopped around so that there was no gap between the roof and the walls. Chen Yakin straightened up, and Zhang Chen shouted softly from the side, "That's great." Chen Yakin looked at him and smiled shyly. The two people stood there and stared at the completed office building model for a while. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin said, "Should I turn on the light?" Chen Yakin said yes. Zhang Chen turned on the switch connecting the office building model, and Chen Yakin said ah and took a breath. She saw that the entire office building was brightly lit, like an exquisite crystal palace, so beautiful. Chen Yakin didn't dare to express her anger, and stared at the office building. The office building was too lifelike. She felt that there seemed to be a lot of little people moving around inside. If she made a little louder voice, she would scare them. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin said, "Look where your own office is." Chen Yakin stretched out her slender fingers, pointed to the left side of the office building, and said excitedly to Zhang Chen, "Look, look, it's right here." Oops, when I got off work, I even forgot to close the curtains. Zhang Chen also laughed and asked Chen Yakin, "Are you beautiful?" Chen Yakin said and nodded, "Beautiful, so beautiful." She looked at Zhang Chen, tears flashing in her eyes. Zhang Chen's heart trembled. He felt that Chen Yakin looked so much like Xiao Zhao for a moment, and he almost held her in his arms. Chen Yakin also felt something strange. The two stood face to face. For a moment, Chen Yakin felt that they must hug each other to release their happiness at the moment. Chen Yakin moved forward unconsciously, and Zhang Chen seemed to move forward at the same time. He moved forward, but he immediately backed away. Chen Yakin sighed in her heart. Zhang Chen looked at his watch. Although it was only a little after 8 o'clock, he smiled and said to Chen Yakin, "Okay, let's give ourselves a holiday today, that's all." "Okay," Chen Yakin said softly, her voice was gloomy, and Zhang Chen couldn't help but glance at her. As the two of them were walking back to the dormitory area, Zhang Chen naturally looked back. "Won't come," Chen Yakin said. "What? He won't come? He doesn't dare to follow us," Chen Yakin said again. Zhang Chen wanted to ask why, but he didn't. The two of them walked forward silently, always keeping a certain distance between them, even in the darkness of the street lights. The two people entered the gate of the dormitory area and walked downstairs to Zhang Chen's house. They stopped at the same time. Zhang Chen and Chen Yakin said, "See you tomorrow." "Why?" Zhang Chen was about to go upstairs when Chen Yakin called out. Zhang Chen stopped and asked, "What's the matter?" Chen Yakin's face was hot. Fortunately, the light here was dim and Zhang Chen couldn't notice it. Chen Yakin bit her lips and mustered up the courage to say, "We can't take a shower in our dormitory." Can I borrow your bathroom to take a shower?" "Okay," Zhang Chen said. Chen Yakin said happily, "Then I'll go to the dormitory to get a change of clothes." Zhang Chen said yes, and Chen Yakin turned to leave. Zhang Chen stopped her. Zhang Chen handed her the key to the room and said to her, "I'll go to the activity room and watch them play cards. After you wash it, you can put the keys in the room, turn off the lights, close the door, and put the key in the door." After Zhang Chen finished speaking, he turned and walked towards the activity room. Chen Yakin stood there, looking at Zhang Chen's back, sighing. She lightly stamped her foot, and then walked towards the female workers' dormitory building. Zhang Chen arrived at the activity room and watched people play table tennis for a while, and then watched people play 2 recreational chess games. This recreational chess game is actually similar to billiards. From the table to the cues, they are all made by the factory. It is a small square table. The large and small wooden chess table is smooth with varnish, and has 4 holes dug in the 4 corners. The mother chess piece is a flat round pier made of solid wood, painted black. A pair of extra large wooden chess pieces were chosen for the chess pieces. At the beginning of the game, the chess pieces were placed in the middle of the chess table. 2 people took turns to tee off with the cue sticks. From their 2 corners, they hit the black mother chess pieces and used the mother chess pieces. The chess collides with the chess, and 2 people each have a color. Whoever knocks down all the chess of his own color into the surrounding round holes first wins. If you mistakenly hit a chess piece of the opponent's color into the hole, you will be in vain, and you will have to take one of your own chess pieces out as a penalty. There are 4 chess tables in the activity room. When the wooden chess pieces hit the wooden chess pieces or the 4 walls of the chess table, they will make a snapping sound, which is more exciting than billiard balls. Zhang Chen's hands were itching to watch, but there were many people waiting to play leisure chess, and he was unfamiliar with the place, so he had no choice but to give up. I walked to the card table on the side and watched them playing cards. They were playing red 5 and betting a small amount of money. Zhang Chen and the others used to go out to the theater troupe. After performing during the day or night, they would play red 5 and bet a small amount of money. Zhang Chen stayed in the activity room until 9:10. He thought that Chen Yakin should have taken a shower and gone back by this time. He walked out of the activity room and was about to go back to his room. When he went downstairs and looked up, he found that the light in his room was still on. Zhang Chen stood there and did not dare to go up. If Chen Yakin was still in his room, all he had to do was go upstairs, knock on the door and go in. Zhang Chen felt that this matter was unclear. How did he know whether that An would really be like that? Chen Yakin told herself not to follow them anymore. Maybe he is still peeping somewhere? Zhang Chen couldn't help but look around. Zhang Chen vaguely felt that when Chen Yakin said she wanted to take a bath with him, it was not as simple as taking a bath. Maybe he was overthinking it, but that was how he felt. Moreover, Zhang Chen felt that he was one step closer to Chen Yakin tonight. Chen Yakin was beautiful today, more beautiful than ever. Zhang Chen didn't know if she really threw herself into his arms today. They were in the room, the door it was locked again, and he was really not sure whether he could control it. He is also a man. A man who has not touched a woman for a long time. If he thinks about it for a while, it will be another thing. He is not a saint, not that great. But one thing is very clear to Zhang Chen. As long as he takes the step, it will be over for him and Xiao Zhao. He will definitely not be able to face Xiao Zhao again. Even if Xiao Zhao doesn't know what happened today, he will not forgive himself. Just give it a wide berth. Don't create opportunities for yourself, let alone test yourself. The result of the test may be something you can't bear. There is some love that you cannot bear. Zhang Chen sighed, turned around and walked towards the activity room again. Zhang Chen walked towards the activity room. Along the way, people were already coming out of the activity room and going back to the dormitory. The activity room closes at 9:30 p.m., and there are still 10 minutes before closing time. Zhang Chen walked into the activity room. There was a table of people still playing cards. There were a few people standing next to it. Far away from the card table, a guy's voice came from the card table. Zhang Chen didn't need to get closer. I also know that although it is just for fun, this guy has probably lost a lot of money and is furious. Zhang Chen walked around the activity room. It was 9:30. Everyone else had left. Only the table was still there, and Zhang Chen also came over. The rule of playing Red 5 is that 4 people bid their own points according to the cards in their hands. 3 decks of cards, 100 points starting bid. Whoever bids the highest score, the other 3 will give up, he will be the banker, and the next 3 will be the dealer. Hit him 1, and if he can catch the score he called, he will hit it. If he wins, the other 3 will give him money. If he loses, he will give the other 3 money, half of the amount given to him by others. If the dealer catches a score that is 40 points less than the bid, it is a small bald head, and he has to pay twice as much to the other 3. If it is less than 80 points, it is a big bald head, and he has to pay twice as much. Similarly, if he catches 40 more points than he called, he will skip 1 level, and the 3 will give him double the money. If he catches more than 80 points, he will skip 2 levels and get twice the money. The administrator of the activity room came over and said that the time was up and urged them to finish. The guy was cursing and the administrator had no choice but to walk away. Zhang Chen felt funny watching from the side. He knew that this guy had lost his mind. If he was allowed to fight all night long, the other 3 would not be able to leave. In gambling, the winner never has the right to end it. This guy is really furious. No matter how bad the cards in his hand are, he will still compete with others until they dare not call again. He just dominates the dealer's seat and refuses to give up. The result can be imagined. Not only failed to win in one set, most of them were small lights, and there were 2 big lights. This style of play made the other 3 people and the spectators angry, and they were all scolding him. The administrator came over several times but was scolded by him and ran away. At 9:50, the administrator was also angry. He simply pulled the switch and turned off all the lights in the activity room. The guy was so angry that he lifted the card table. He ran over in the dark and wanted to hit the administrator, but the administrator didn't dare to show weakness. If the person next to him hadn't pulled away, the 2 of them would have started fighting at that time. Zhang Chen walked out of the activity room, thinking that Chen Yakin should leave at this time. Thanks for the tip that makes reading a book feel different. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 496. Before Zhang Chen walked downstairs, he saw the light in his room was still on from a distance, and he frowned. Zhang Chen walked downstairs and looked up, hesitant in his heart. He couldn't decide whether he should go up or not. Could it be that Chen Yakin didn't turn off the lights when she left? Zhang Chen stood for a while, struggling in his heart, and finally shook his head. If Chen Yakin was still in the room at this time, it would only confirm that his previous guess was correct. She came to do more than just take a bath. As long as he goes up there, something will definitely happen tonight, and he can't take the risk. The activity room was closed, so he decided to go to the studio to stay for a while. If that didn't work, he would just sleep on the sofa there. Having made up his mind, Zhang Chen turned around, but was startled when he saw Chen Yakin standing behind him, holding a wash basin in her hand, looking at him blankly, her eyes shining in the darkness. Zhang Chen suddenly panicked and muttered, "Why are you here? If I don't leave, you won't go upstairs, right?" Chen Yakin bit her lip and asked. Zhang Chen was embarrassed and didn't know how to answer. "For you." Chen Yakin handed him the key, and Zhang Chen took it, said goodbye quickly, and did not dare to look at Chen Yakin again, turned around and walked towards the corridor. Behind him, he heard Chen Yakin seemingly crying, but he didn't dare to look back, let alone stop. He walked to the 5th floor in one breath, opened the door, walked straight into his room, fell on the bed, and then let out a long breath. The next morning, Director Li came to Zhang Chen's studio and saw the office building model they completed yesterday. His eyes widened and he was amazed. After he returned to the office upstairs, after a while, everyone upstairs ran down to have a look, and they were all amazed when they saw it. Later, not only the office staff upstairs, but also many people from other departments in the factory came over to take a look. Even the masters in the staff canteen came over. Throughout the morning, there was a constant flow of people in the studio, like a vegetable market. He didn't take the warning posted on the door "No entry to non-users" seriously. Zhang Chen did nothing this morning. He felt like he was standing there like a Buddha waiting for people to come up and pay their respects. Those who came to see him told him that it was so well done and that it looked so similar. He had been smiling all morning. Keep saying thank you, thank you. It was almost noon when Director Li went downstairs again and saw that the incident he had caused had become out of control and he had to step in to end it. He stood outside the door for more than 10 minutes, yelling at the people who came to watch the excitement, "You don't have to go to work during working hours, what are you doing here? Go back, believe it or not, your bonus will be deducted." This stopped the flow of people. Director Li smiled and said to Zhang Chen, "No wonder, the country people have never seen the market." Zhang Chen could only continue to smile. After the studio became clean again, Zhang Chen realized that he hadn't seen much of Chen Yakin all morning. After she appeared in the crowd, she didn't know where she went. It was already lunchtime, and Zhang Chen took out the foam arm from the cabinet before he felt hungry. He wanted to use this time to draw today's Zhang Chen watch in case anyone comes again in the afternoon. There is no time. Zhang Chen was painting carefully. Halfway through the painting, the door was pushed open and Chen Yakin came in with 2 bowls. Zhang Chen wanted to hide the foam arm in his hand, but it was too late. Chen Yakin put down the bowl in his hand and asked for it. Looking at the foam arm, Zhang Chen could only show it to her. "The painting is really good," Chen Yakin said, "what do you use this for?" Zhang Chen could only smile and said, "I painted for fun." This is a secret between him and Xiao Zhao. Of course he will not tell others. For him and Xiao Zhao, this is an almost ritual serious matter. In the eyes of others, it is easy to think it is a child's play. Why bother with them? Explain. Chen Yakin returned the foam arm to Zhang Chen, and Zhang Chen put it in the cabinet. The two sat down to eat. He peeked at Chen Yakin. Chen Yakin's face seemed calm, and neither of them mentioned what happened last night. After eating, Chen Yakin took the dishes and went out to wash them. However, what was different from the past was that after washing the dishes, she did not go back to the office upstairs and come down when it was time to go to work, but immediately returned to the studio. Zhang Chen was lying on his back on the sofa and was about to take a rest. When he saw Chen Yakin coming in, he quickly sat up. Chen Yakin came over, sat down on the swivel chair, picked up the pen on the table with her right hand, moved the swivel chair to Zhang Chen's side, and stretched out her hands towards Zhang Chen. "What?" Zhang Chen asked. Chen Yakin rolled up the sleeve of her left hand, revealing her white and tender little arms, and said to Zhang Chen, "I want to draw a watch." Zhang Chen was surprised. What should he do about this? Say no, it seems too stingy. When someone helps you here every day, she asks you to draw a watch on her wrist, but you refuse. This is hard to say. But let's be honest, this morning watch can be drawn by anyone. Zhang Chen hesitated, but Chen Yakin kept extending her hand without any intention of retracting it. Zhang Chen thought for a moment and could only pretend to smile. He said, "Aren't you wearing a watch? Why are you drawing?" Chen Yakin took off her watch and said, Now you can draw. This. Zhang Chen hesitated. It's not easy to wash the painting. I know. Isn't this drawing of a watch only for children? I do. Chen Yakin pressed forward step by step, and Zhang Chen retreated step by step. Finally, he had no way to retreat. He thought for a while and said, "It doesn't look good when you draw a watch. I'll draw you a bracelet. It's a hollow bracelet. It's guaranteed to be beautiful." Chen Yakin smiled and said, "Okay, then you can draw a bracelet for me." Chen Yakin stretched out her left hand to Zhang Chen and handed over the pen with her right hand. Zhang Chen took the pen and held Chen Yakin's left hand with his left hand. The moment their hands came into contact, both of them trembled slightly. Zhang Chen took a deep breath and quickly calmed down. He came down, lowered his head, and started drawing on Chen Yakin's left wrist. Chen Yakin looked at Zhang Chen dreamingly. This man was really handsome when he was doing something seriously. Chen Yakin felt sweet and sour in her heart. What was sour was the grievances and worries during this period, which seemed to have surged into her heart at this moment. What was sweet was her own hand, which finally lay quietly in his hand. How she wished that time would stand still at this moment, and the two of them, like a photo, were frozen in this moment, never having to separate. Bang, there was a sound, and the door of the studio was knocked open. The two people sitting there were startled. Ayan broke in from the door and saw Zhang Chen holding Chen Yakin's hand. Both of them lowered their heads. He raised his head, and his head was almost touching each other. Ayan's blood suddenly surged. He felt that the two people must have been kissing just now. "Bitch, man and woman," Ayan cursed. Chen Yakin stood up, pointed at Ayan and said, "What did you say? If you dare, say it again." "What did I say? I said you were a couple of bitches, shameless bitches," Ayan screamed hysterically. Chen Yakin wanted to rush towards Ayan, but Zhang Chen held her back. Chen Yakin also shouted, "You bastard, don't run away if you have the guts." "Shall I run? I run. I'll let you see if I can run away." Ayan took out his right hand from behind his body, holding an iron hammer in his hand, and rushed towards this side. Seeing this, Zhang Chen quickly pulled Chen Yakin behind him, and at the same time took a step forward to block the situation. Arrived in front of her. Ayan rushed halfway, but suddenly stopped. Instead of continuing, he turned around and hit the model of the office building with a hammer. There was a loud crash, the plexiglass flew everywhere, and the model was completely shattered. Chen Yakin let out a scream. The studio was just an area in the empty hall, separated by a partition wall. The partition wall was empty. The loud crashing noise and Chen Yakin's scream suddenly resounded throughout the building. There were many people in the hall outside. They wanted to take advantage of the lunch break to come and see the model. But when they got here, they stopped when they saw the livid-faced Ayan. At this moment, they heard the noise and rushed into the studio. Ayan was completely crazy. After he finished smashing the model of the office building, he howled wildly and continued to swing his hammer and hit other models. The sand table soon became a mess. Everyone who rushed into the room was shocked by the scene in front of them. Shocked, many people wanted to stop Ayan, but there was one person who moved faster than them, and that was Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen yelled and rushed over. Ayan was completely red-eyed. When he saw Zhang Chen coming, he raised his hammer and hit him. Zhang Chen subconsciously blocked the hammer with his left hand and hit him with a straight punch with his right hand. He walked right in front of Ayan's face. Ayan's howling suddenly stopped, and he fell backward. Fortunately, someone arrived behind him and reached out to support him, but his face was already bloody. Soon someone stood between Zhang Chen and Ayan. It was Director Li. Director Li put a hand on Zhang Chen's chest to stop him from moving forward. He looked back at the bloody Ayan and those who were holding him. His people shouted, "Why are you still standing there? Send him to the hospital quickly. Jiang Chen stood there angrily. He saw the ruins of the sand table and saw Mr. Ni walking towards it. The crowded crowd naturally gave way to two passages, one for An and the others, and the other. There is one for Mr. Ni. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 497. Director Li's face looked ugly. He came over and said to Jiang Chen, "Let's go." Jiang Chen didn't know where Director Li wanted him to go, but he still followed Director Li and walked outside the office building. A car parked there. Director Li said impatiently, "Get in the car and get in the car." Jiang Chen was confused and had not yet woken up from what had just happened. He only knew that An seemed to have been sent to the hospital, and Chen Yakin did not know where he was taken. Director Li asked him to get in the car, and he got in the car. As soon as the door closed, the car drove away. Director Li sat next to Jiang Chen. He didn't speak or look at Jiang Chen along the way, but looked out the window. Jiang Chen didn't say anything and looked out the window on the other side. He immediately saw that the car was driving towards Hangzhou. Along the way, the two people remained silent. The car entered Hangzhou, drove to Yangbatu, and drove to the gate of Chu Tianlin's community. Jiang Chen saw Chu Tianlin and Xiao Zhao standing there. "Stop the car here for the two women in front." This was the only thing Director Li said after getting in the car, and he said it to the driver. The driver drove the car in front of Chu Tianlin and Xiao Zhao and stopped. Director Li and Jiang Chen got out of the car. Director Li pulled Chu Tianlin aside and said something. Jiang Chen stood in front of Xiao Zhao. Xiao Zhao took Jiang Chen's right hand and saw that his hand was covered with blood. "Xiao Zhao," he asked softly, "does it hurt? Does it matter?" Jiang Chen shook his head. Director Li got in the car and left without even saying hello to Jiang Chen. Chu Tianlin came over. Her face was also ugly. Jiang Chen had never seen Chu Tianlin look so ugly before. He lowered his head. "We'll talk about it when we get home." After Chu Tianlin finished speaking, he turned around and walked inside. Xiao Zhao took Jiang Chen's hand, and the two of them followed Chu Tianlin. There are 6-story buildings in the community. Chu Tianlin's home is on the 4th floor of the innermost building. They went upstairs and entered the room. Chu Tianlin asked Jiang Chen and Xiao Zhao to sit on the sofa. She glanced at Jiang Chen's with his right hand. He walked to the cabinet, opened the cabinet door, took the red potion and cotton wool from inside, handed it to Xiao Zhao, and said to her, "Clean his wounds." Jiang Chen quickly said, "It's okay, Sister Tianlin, it's just a little bit of skin." After saying that, Jiang Chen wanted to lighten the atmosphere, looked at Xiao Zhao, and said jokingly, "Maybe it's been too long since I hit someone." But neither Xiao Zhao nor Chu Tianlin was amused by his joke. Xiao Zhao glanced at him and shook his head slightly. Chu Tianlin frowned and snorted. "You think you're very powerful, don't you? I didn't expect you to be able to fight. It's said that your attacks are quite ruthless." "No, Sister Tianlin, he forced me." "Do you know who he is?" Chu Tianlin said. "He is the son of a shareholder of Lao Ni's company. If you beat someone like that, your family will have to settle the score with you. If Lao Ni hadn't sent you away quickly, do you think you can escape? Thanks to Lao Ni for stopping me, otherwise everyone would have chased me to Hangzhou. But, it's true that he smashed my sand table first, and I couldn't bear it anymore, so I taught him a lesson." "Then why did they smash your sand table?" "Xiao Zhao is here too. Sister is in charge today. We must make this matter clear." Jiang Chen murmured, "He's crazy, how do I know? He gets mad and turns on you, why not on others?" "How could I know?" "Humph, you don't know? Then tell me, what's going on between you and that Ziokin?" Chu Tianlin looked at Jiang Chen with a cold gaze that made Jiang Chen shudder. "It doesn't matter. Director Li arranged for her to assist me." We have a working relationship, Zhang Chen said. Then do you know who Xiaoqan is from An? Chu Tianlin said, she is the daughter-in-law recognized by both families. Otherwise, how could you think that Xiaoqan would be so lucky to work in the office? But Chen Yakan doesn't admit their relationship at all, Zhang Chen said anxiously. Whether she admits it or not is none of your business. Who are you to Xiaoqan? Lao Ni is still a distant relative of Xiaoqan. They don't care, so what do you care? Yes, I know, Xiaoqan admits that you two have a relationship. Is this what you want to say? Zhang Chen felt that he was unable to defend himself. This was a real disaster. He had been careful and cautious, but unexpectedly something happened. Zhang Chen said, she and I really have nothing to do with each other. Then you have to believe that you have nothing to do with each other. That's not what Lao Ni and the whole factory say. No matter how people say I can't control it, I know that even if we don't have a relationship, we can't have a relationship. I only have Xiao Zhao in my heart, Zhang Chen argued. Only Xiao Zhao, Chu Tianlin sneered, what you say is better than what you sing. There is only Xiao Zhao in your heart. Then let me ask you, how long has it been since you returned to Hangzhou? How far is Qiqiao from Hangzhou? Is it difficult to come back? I'm still wondering why you are doing this, and it's hard to ask Xiao Zhao. It turns out that you have wildflowers, and these flowers are not as fragrant as wildflowers, right? Zhang Chen was really a little anxious. Just as he was about to tell the difference, Xiao Zhao pulled his hand. Xiao Zhao said, sister, I told him not to come back. Chu Tianlin looked at Xiao Zhao and said, don't protect him, it's not worth it. I didn't protect him, sister. I really told him not to come back. Real. Why? I feel that I have caused a lot of trouble to my sister and Xiaoan here. If Zhang Chen comes back often, it will be very inconvenient for Xiaoan. We just want to let him concentrate on finishing the things there as soon as possible. This way you can come back sooner, really, sister, that's it? Chu Tianlin sighed softly, her expression improved a lot, and she cursed lightly, I am your sister, and Xiaoan is also her sister. We are all members of her own family, so what's the inconvenience? I know, sister, but we just feel that this is not good and is too troublesome, Xiao Zhao said. Chu Tianlin slowed down and said to Zhang Chen, now tell me what happened. Xiao Zhao and I will listen to see if someone has wronged you. Zhang Chen then told Chu Tianlin and Xiao Zhao everything about his situation in Mr. Ni's company. Zhang Chen said it very frankly. Anyway, he had never done anything shameful and had nothing to hide. Including why he wanted to draw a bracelet for Chen Yakan at noon today. When An came in, he must have seen them holding hands, so he misunderstood. After Zhang Chen finished speaking, Chu Tianlin fell silent. After a while, she asked Xiao Zhao, do you believe what he said? Xiao Zhao nodded, I believe him. Real. Well, Xiao Zhao, I'm just afraid that you won't be able to get rid of this knot in your heart. Since you believe in Xiao Zhang, that's great. Chu Tianlin turned to Zhang Chen and said, actually, Mr. Ni also told me that he also feels that the relationship with Xiaoqan is not as bad as the rumors outside, but now that something like this has happened, there is definitely no way to continue the work there, do you understand? Zhang Chen nodded, he understood. Chu Tianlin stood up, walked to the table, took out an envelope from her bag on the table, walked over and put it on the coffee table, and said to them. This is the 5,000 yuan that Mr. Ni asked Director Li to bring over earlier. It is given to you by him himself and has nothing to do with the company. Zhang Chen quickly shook his head and said no, I can't take this money, Sister Tianlin, help me return it to Mr. Ni, and then help me say sorry to him. No matter what, this matter always happened because of me. It has also brought losses to them, and I am sorry for Mr. Ni's trust. Xiao Zhao also said, "Sister, please return it, we really can't take this money." Chu Tianlin looked at them and said, "Okay, you have the guts. I guess I saw you right." Lu Ligan finished writing the letter to Zhang Chen, read it over, and felt that there was nothing to add, so he folded the letter, stuffed it into the envelope, and then put the envelope into his bag. He decided to get off work in the afternoon. Go to the post office and mail the letter. Lu Ligan looked at his watch and saw that it was already almost 1 o'clock. He thought that Meng Ping and the others were probably tired of waiting at the Nance Huang Hotel, so he quickly stood up. Lu Ligan walked outside the office door and saw Wu Kai sitting outside waiting for him and Zheng Wei. When Lu Ligan came out, Wu Kai shouted to Zheng Wei's office, "Mr. Zheng, the emperor has left the palace." Lu Ligan laughed loudly and waved his hand, but Wu Kai avoided him. Zheng Wei came out of his office and came over. The three of them walked towards the door together. Zheng Wei asked Lu Ligan, "Is the emperor lucky?" Lu Ligan nodded and said seriously, "I'm fine." All three laughed. They walked to the door and were about to close the door when the elevator door opened and 4 or 5 people walked out. The leader, Lu Ligan, felt familiar, but he couldn't remember who the other person was. The visitor saw them and asked, "Which one of you is Mr. Lu?" Lu Ligan said, "I am. What's the matter with you? Are you selling off the planned properties in Hongyu Building?" the visitor asked. "Hongyu Building is Mr. Zhang's building." Lu Ligan nodded. "He is right, but the first phase has been sold out today. If you want to buy, you have to wait for the second phase, which will be about half a month later. The details are the time has not yet been determined." The other party smiled and said, "Mr. Lu, you misunderstood. We are not here to buy off the planned properties, but to tell you that you can't sell them. Hongyu Building belongs to us." Lu Ligan, Zheng Wei, and Wu Kai were shocked when they heard this. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 498. "Mr. Lu, is there a place where we can talk?" the visitor asked Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan and Zheng Wei looked at each other and said to each other, "Then let's go to the conference room." The other two went to the conference room with Lu Ligan and Zheng Wei, and the other two sat down at the front desk of their company. Wu Zaiyi pretended to be nonchalant and walked out. He saw 4 or 5 people coming up outside and standing at the elevator entrance. These people seemed to be people from society at first glance. Wu Zaiyi knew that things were not that simple anymore. He returned to the company and walked to the door of Wei Wenfang's office. He knew that Wei Wenfang usually left the door unlocked. He walked in, closed the door, dialed Meng Ping's number, lowered his voice, and called. Here I briefly told Meng Ping about the situation, and Meng Ping was also surprised. "Mr. Meng, ask Cao Qiaoqing and his people to come here quickly. I'm afraid that Mr. Lu and Mr. Zheng will suffer a loss," Wu Zaiyi and Meng Ping said. Meng Ping said okay. After Wu Kai made the call, he stood up and walked to Wei Wenfang's cabinet. He opened the cabinet and saw a hammer on the bottom shelf. He took out the hammer and stuffed it into his waist, then pulled out the hem of his shirt to cover it. Hammer. He walked out of Wei Wenfang's office and went to sit at the door outside the conference room so that if there was any movement inside, he could rush in. In the conference room, after the 4 people sat down, Lu Ligan asked each other, "What do you call them?" "My surname is Fang, and my name is Fangzhe. I mean philosophy." "Mr. Lu can just call me Xiao Fang," the other party smiled. "This is our Mr. Fang," said the man next to him. Lu Ligan nodded, "Hello, Mr. Fang, this is our Mr. Zheng. I probably don't need to introduce myself. You have already come to the door." Fangzhe laughed. "What did Mr. Lu say?" "We are just here to remind you that you were deceived by that guy Zhang Shaoan. The Hongyu Building was mortgaged to us long ago, long before you." "Oh, then why have I never heard of it?" Lu Ligan said with a smile, just because you came here and said, Hongyu building belongs to you, is it you? Well, Zhang Shaoan wants to defraud you of your money, so of course he won't tell you. Mr. Lu is right, and his words are unfounded. Then take a look at this. Fang Jie said as he opened his briefcase, took out a copy of the document and handed it to Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan saw that this was a loan agreement, which stated that Mr. Zhang borrowed RMB 15 million from Hainan Zinsco, Limited for a period of 3 months, using the land and construction projects in Hongyu building as if the mortgage is not repaid after 3 months. Party A, Hainan Zinsco, Limited, has the right to dispose of the land and projects under construction in Hongyu building at will. Lu Ligan looked at the loan date. It was indeed 3 months ago. As of yesterday, it happened to be the due date. He looked at the borrower's signature below. It was indeed Mr. Zhang's signature. Under Mr. Zhang's signature, and Li Xiaofei from the construction company, signed and agreed to mortgage the project under construction to Party A, and also served as the guarantor for this loan. Actually, Mr. Lu, we saw your advertisement the day before yesterday. We also thought about contacting you at that time, but because the loan has not expired, we have no reason to contact you. No, we should not come today. It's considered a teacher from Wyoming, right? The most important thing is that this Shaoan's loan expired and he disappeared. We couldn't contact him no matter what, so we had to take action, Fang Jie said. Lu Ligan felt that this loan agreement was very strange. Where did the two parties agree on the pledge but did not go through the pledge procedures? After hearing what the other party said, he felt even more strange. He said, "You can't contact Mr. Zhang? How is it possible? I just spoke to him on the phone yesterday." "Then you can try contacting him again." Lu Ligan picked up his mobile phone and called Mr. Zhang's new mobile phone. As expected, the call couldn't be reached. He detained Mr. Zhang again. The four of them sat there and waited for 5 or 6 minutes, but there was no reply. Zheng Wei read the document, pushed it to the other party, and told them, "This document has nothing to do with us. It is an issue between you and Mr. Zhang." "What, Mr. Zheng, do you suspect that this document is fake?" Fang Jie smiled softly and continued, "If you want to see the original document, you can go to my company to see it. Also, you can compare the signature and even do a handwriting appraisal to see if it was signed by Zhang Shaoan himself. As signature, I think you have it here too. Also, although the borrower cannot be found, the guarantor is still there. You must know this person, Mr. Lu. You can ask him and he can prove whether this matter is true." Zheng Wei waved his hand and said, "I said, this matter has nothing to do with us. We are not interested in the authenticity of the documents at all. I only know that all the procedures we have with Mr. Zhang have gone through legal processes and have obtained legal recognition, and our rights and interests is protected by law. As for whether there is a loan relationship between you and Mr. Zhang, we don't know, and we don't want to know." Fang Jie waited for Zheng Wei to finish speaking. He tapped his fingers on the conference table twice and said with a smile, "Mr. Zheng is talking about the two pledge documents. Do you think that in Haikan, if you want to, is it difficult to make them invalid pledges?" Lu Ligan was secretly surprised by Fang Jie's words. It seemed that this guy was well prepared. He was not without confidence in being able to say such a thing. Lu Ligan himself saw with his own eyes how Zhang Chen's project at Wanghai Tower turned from white to black. He was kicked out of the house with a conspiracy, and almost put himself in jail. In Haikan, there is no blackest, only darker. Some powerful one's energy cannot be underestimated. Even if Huang Hongguang is so powerful, he still has a threshold that he cannot overcome. When Fang Jie was talking, Lu Ligan kept looking at him. He always felt that this person looked familiar. Lu Ligan asked, "Mr. Fang, do you know Zheng?" Fang Jie was stunned for a moment and asked, "Who is Zheng?" "Oh, it's okay, I made a mistake." Lu Ligan said this, but just based on Fang Zhe's surprise, he understood that Zheng should be related to today's events. Of course, he cannot be the protagonist. His level and IQ are not enough. Including Fang Zhe, it is impossible to be a decisive figure. He can only be a horseboy. The real boss behind the operation of this kind of thing cannot jump out by himself. Lu Ligan feels that this person looks familiar, and he thinks, get up, you must have seen him and Zheng together. What does Mr. Fang mean? Zheng Wei asked. It's not interesting. I just reminded Mr. Zheng that it's either written in black or white, or it's confirmed, Fang Zhe said. Many things depend on human effort, especially in Heiken. It means that in Heiken, Mr. Fang can cover the sky with one hand, right? Zheng Wei smiled. Don't dare, Fang Zhe said. Okay, Mr. Fang, let's not beat around the bush. Just tell us your purpose of coming today, Lu Ligan said. Do you want us to give up Hongyu building, or do you want us to force you to do so? Shall we sign an alliance under the city? There are some words and things that can be seen through, but cannot be revealed. There is no point in saying it, but there are some things that cannot be seen through but must be revealed first. Okay, cool, Fang Zhe shouted. Actually, I also know that, speaking of it, you are also victims. If you want to blame that guy Zhang Shaoan. It is not an exaggeration to say that one does not know. We are indifferent to your situation. Deep sympathy as well. Zheng Wei couldn't help laughing. She said, it's a joke. It seems like we have to ask for your charity to survive. Why do I look at you? You are just a piece of paper. Zheng Wei said, pointing to the document on the table. Then you can try and see who laughs last. I'm just afraid that you won't even be able to cry within 2 weeks, another person said. Zheng Wei was angry and stared at him. You. Lu Ligan quickly patted Zheng Wei and said to her, let's listen to what Mr. Fang has to say first. A woman's opinion, Fang Zhe smiled contemptuously and said, it can be seen that Mr. Lu can talk about things. If Mr. Zheng has this attitude, then I don't think we even need to continue talking. Mr. Fang, tell me, Lu Ligan smiled. To continue what I said before, we feel that you are also victims, so I think we can negotiate a solution that has the best of both worlds. What can we do? Lu Ligan asked. Now that I say I have the right to dispose of the Hongyu building, and you say you have it, don't argue over this issue. I think there is a good way to solve the problem for both of us. Oh, I want to hear Mr. Fang's opinion. Mr. Lu is too polite, Fang Zhe said with a smile. Actually, the method is very simple, that is, we sign an agreement, and our company will replace the company in the agreement you originally signed with Zhang. That is to say, as Zhang Shaoan's replacement, we actually have no loss to you, Mr. Lu, am I right? Yes, Lu Ligan said, that's what it sounds like. It's not what it sounds like, but that's actually what happened. By doing this, Mr. Lu, you won't lose a penny. You can do whatever you have to do. You just need to pay the part that should have been given to Mr. Zhang to our company. This is good for us. Said, our losses can also be compensated. Mr. Lu, what do you think of my plan? Very good, perfect, Lu Ligan smiled, but we need a procedure. What procedures? Fang Zhe asked. We need an authorization signed by Mr. Zhang in person in front of us. He agrees to transfer all the rights of his company to your company, or give us an instruction for the designated transfer of funds, Lu Lirod said. This, wouldn't it be enough to have this? Fang Zhe pointed at the document on the table with his finger. Lu Ligan shook his head and said, this cannot be counted. Our President Zheng is right. This is between you and Mr. Zhang and has nothing to do with us. We need Mr. Zhang to give us such a document, otherwise, we can't even pay you a penny. I see that you are punished with a toast if you don't eat it. The man next to him slammed the table. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 499. Who is so damn loud, Cao Qiuqing said and walked in. The man sitting next to him was stunned for a moment when he saw Cao Qiuqing. Cao Qiuqing was also stunned when he saw him. Lu Ligan saw all this. Lu Ligan asked Cao Qiuqing, "Do you know him?" Cao Qiuqing nodded, "We had some dealings with him that day at the Daowen Hotel." Lu Ligan understood that this should be the person who looked at Wenwen's Qian at the Daowen Hotel that day. It seemed that his guess was correct. Today's incident was indeed related to Zheng. Lu Ligan asked the guy, "Mr. Fang doesn't know Zheng. I think you should know him, right?" The guy's face turned red. He looked at Fang Zhe and said bravely, "I don't know him either." "You fart," Cao Qiuqing scolded. Fang Zhe frowned and said, "It doesn't matter whether we know anyone or not. We are here to solve problems today, not to meet relatives." After he finished speaking, he looked back outside the glass. A dozen people suddenly came across from him. He smiled and said, "Mr. Lu, it looks like there are quite a few of you." He turned around and said to the man next to him, "Let the brothers come and sit in Liu's office. I think Mr. Lu won't object." The man picked up the mobile phone, dialed a number, and said to the phone, "Come up here." After a while, 30 or 40 people came up from below, plus Cao Qiuqing and others, and the large office area outside was almost full. Cao Qiuqing stared at the man and said, "Why, there are many of you, right? Let's go down and compete in the parking lot." Lu Ligan scolded, "No matter what the competition is, just sit still." Meng Ping walked to the door of the conference room and called, "Zhizi, come out." Lu Ligan and Zheng Wei stood up and walked out of the door. Fang Zhe wanted to follow, but Cao Qiuqing stopped him. Cao Qiuqing shouted, "Sit down. I didn't ask you to go." Hearing the commotion outside, two groups of people started to commotion. Fang Zhe smiled and said to the guy next to him, "Let your people be quiet. They asked us to sit down. We will sit down and let your people guard the door. Today's no one in the company should be allowed to leave." The man stood up and walked out. Cao Qiuqing followed him out. After a few minutes, the people on both sides immediately divided into two camps. The 30 or 40 people from the other side gathered in the foyer and the large office area near the foyer place and blocked the door. Cao Qiuqing also lined up in a row to block them from approaching Lu Ligan's office. Although Cao Qiuqing and the others were small, the other party knew that they were all Xiao Wu's apprentices and were not easy to mess with, so they were still a little wary. Some of them had seen the competition between Xiao Wu and Zheng, and later went to the practice hall to practice. For a few days, I hid behind me, thinking, damn, isn't this a flood that has washed away the Dragon King Temple? Why are we here today? Without further instructions from their boss, the two sides just faced off, and for the time being they were in peace. Meng Ping, Qianfang, Lu Ligan, and Zheng Wei went to Lu Ligan's office. Meng Ping asked Lu Ligan what was going on. Lu Ligan asked Zheng Wei to tell Meng Ping and Qianfang about the situation. He walked to the window and looked down. He saw a row of motorcycles parked at the gate downstairs, and a dozen people below. Lu Ligan saw a few figures that were somewhat familiar. He understood that it was probably because of this that they did not come up and only stayed below to provide support. Lu Lepole dialed Zheng's eldest brother but did not dial, knowing that this bastard was avoiding him. "I tried calling Mr. Zhang's big brother again, but still couldn't get through." Lu Ligan returned to his desk, opened the drawer, took out his address book, found Li Xiaofei's BB number, and detained him. When Lu Ligan returned to the sofa, Meng Ping asked, "Gangzi, is it possible that Mr. Zhang deliberately staged this incident today?" Seeing the good sales situation of the project, he regretted signing the agreement with you. Lu Ligan thought for a while and said, it's impossible. Judging from the plan they just proposed, they didn't ask for more money, they just wanted Mr. Zhang's share. If Mr. Zhang is involved, as you said, if they want to go back on their word, they should make new demands. Meng Ping and Qianfang both nodded. Qianfang said, it seems that the other party has a certain understanding of the strength of your company and is a little wary. Therefore, they did not dare to touch your part of the request. Otherwise, the whole building will be taken. Meng Ping agreed. He and Lu Ligan and Zheng Wei said, I'm trying to scare people, but I didn't expect to meet you two smelly and tough guys. They are probably wondering now. I don't know what are you insisting on. By the way, it seems that it does no harm to you. Why are you insisting? Qianfang asked. Lu Ligan was stunned for a moment. He looked at Zheng Wei. He didn't fully understand what he was insisting on. It was just that Zheng Wei objected, so he felt that he had to object. I'm controlling the risk, Zheng Wei said, the loan agreement they provided is fictitious. How do you know? Meng Ping asked. I turned over their financial information. Their company's accounts did not show that there was any occurrence of 15 million yuan, and it was not 1,500 yuan. If there was, how could I not do you know? Zheng Wei said. Lu Ligan nodded, but he asked again, what if the personal account was smuggled and the company account was not used? 15 million smuggler accounts. Think about this possibility first. Also, there are smuggler accounts. What we saw earlier was a public-to-public agreement. I also paid special attention to the remittance method agreed upon by both parties. To transfer the money to Mr. Zhang's company account. In other words, even if this agreement is signed, as long as the money does not enter Zhang's account, the agreement will still not take effect. Zheng Wei said, and the other three people nodded. Lu Ligan secretly admired him. Unexpectedly, Zheng Wei seemed to be looking at it casually, but he immediately grasped the core and key part of the agreement. How could he did not notice? It's just that the agreement didn't take effect, so what does that have to do with us? Lu Ligan asked. We just lost the money, and that's also Mr. Zhang and their business. You are stupid. If we agree to them, sign the agreement today, and then send the money to the Xin's company, and tomorrow Mr. Zhang comes out and says that this is an invalid agreement, then today's drama will have to happen again. Lu Ligan was shocked. This was really the case. The risk was too great. Meng Ping praised, the political commissar is responsible for risk control after all. He is really thoughtful and learned. What company are you talking about? Qianfang asked. Lu Ligan told them that it was Hainan Zinsco, Ltd. Qianfang said, since they are so loud and say that there is a way to make your pledge procedures invalid, it means that they can at least settle these units. Lao Meng, let's find our own relationship and find out from the side. See what this is all about. Meng Ping said yes, picked up his mobile phone and walked out. Qianfang took his mobile phone, walked to the window, and started talking on the phone. After several phone calls, Qianfang came back and shook her head at Lu Ligan and Zheng Wei. Lu Ligan asked, how was it? Everyone is hesitant. It seems that this company is not simple, Qianfang said. After a while, Meng Ping came back and told them that some refused to say anything, and some refused to say more, but just reminded me not to provoke them. It seemed that they were not bragging, and they really had some weight. The phone on the table rang, and Lu Ligan walked over and picked it up. It was Li Xiaofei on the phone. Lu Ligan asked Li Xiaofei straightforwardly what the agreement was about. Li Xiaofei was almost crying on the phone. He said, Mr. Lu, I am dead because I was killed by this bastard named Zhang. Do you know where Mr. Zhang is? How do I know Mr. Lu? Then what this agreement says about Mr. Zhang borrowing money and you guaranteeing it, is it true? Yes, yes. Li Xiaofei hesitated on the phone and said, "It's true. This is absolutely true. There is nothing wrong with it. It's absolutely true. You are still hesitating." Lu Ligan understands that there is someone next to Li Xiaofei. "Who asked you to guarantee it?" Lu Ligan asked. "Myself," the man surnamed Zhang said that if he guarantees it, he can get the project funds, so I guaranteed it for him. "In this case, why does Mr. Zhang owe you money for the project again?" "Yes, yes." Li Xiaofei stammered for a moment and then said, "Mr. Lu, weren't you looking for someone named Zhang? By the way, how did you find me that day? Is it right to use my BB machine? You can also look for me in the same way." Hit his BB machine. After Li Xiaofei finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Lu Ligan felt that what he said next was incomprehensible. "What the are you talking about with a BB machine? If I come to him, I don't know how to dunk him, so you still need to teach me?" Lu Ligan thought for a moment, and suddenly his eyes lit up. He couldn't tell that Li Xiaofei was still very smart. The key to his words was the sentence, "How did you find me that day?" "That day, I found him through Ajeng. This guy was hinting to me that it was Ajeng who asked him to sign the guarantee, and Mr. Zhang was also in Ajeng's hands. Thank you R11Z for the tip. Thank you Tin Soldier, ranked third from top to bottom, reading books every day, and 131 on the shore for your continued rewards. Thank you for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 500. Lu Ligan immediately called Ajeng's big brother again, but still couldn't get through. He thought for a while and called the boss who provided them with sand and gravel. As soon as he put down the phone, the call came back. Lu Ligan asked him, "Do you know where Ajeng is?" The other party told him without thinking that Ajeng's eldest brother couldn't get through to Mr. Lu, and I couldn't get in touch with him either. Damn it, you knew Big Brother couldn't get through before I even asked. Lu Ligan was even more convinced that Ajeng was avoiding him today. Lu Ligan returned to the sofa and sat down and told them the matter. Meng Ping said that it seemed that the political commissar was right. Not only the agreement, but also the entire incident today was planned. Yes, even the time is right, Lu Ligan said. Tomorrow, we will transfer part of the money to Mr. Zhang, so if they come sooner or later, they will come today. And they didn't come in the morning. They knew that the people who bought off the plant properties had already left, so they came. If they had come in the morning, so many people would be present, and the impact of this matter would be great. They still wanted to do it quietly. Qian Fang said. It seems that people have been watching you, Meng Ping said. Is it so easy to kill people without thinking about blood? It's a beautiful thought. Zheng Wei sneered. While Lu Lizan and Meng Ping were talking in front of them, she had been pondering beside them, as if thinking about something. At this time, she seemed to have finally decided something. What should we do with these people outside? We can't really fight. If we win, it won't look like this here, Meng Ping said. Lu Ligan smiled bitterly and shook his head. He had no idea for the moment. Zheng Wei stood up and said to the three of them, I'll handle this. Zheng Wei said and walked out. Lu Ligan and Meng Ping and Qian Fang sat there looking at each other. They didn't know what Zheng Wei meant when he said she would handle it. They turned to look outside the glass and saw Zheng Wei walking into his office and closing the door. Meng Ping suddenly laughed. Lu Ligan and Qian Fang looked at him, confused. Lu Ligan asked, Why are you laughing? Don't you understand yet? Meng Ping said with a smile, Okay, Pole, the world is at peace. What the hell did you say? This is called the strongest among the strongest. The eldest lady is showing off her power. Do you think these people outside, including those behind them, can still stop her? Lu Ligan and Qian Fang suddenly realized that this was really the case from Zheng Wei's tone and expression. Meng Ping smiled at Jianfang and said, "Did you see that we are selling umbrellas for Zhou Yaduo and fans? I'm worried the weather is too hot." Jianfang also laughed, "Then I won't go back today." "Lao Meng, you can go back if you want. I'm here today and I have to finish this play no matter what." "No, I want to see it too," Meng Ping shouted. 10 minutes later, Zheng Wei came out of the office. She walked to Cao Qiaoqing and said a few words to him. Cao Qiaoqing pointed at Lu Ligan and the others, and Zheng Wei patted his shoulder. Cao Qiaoqing nodded and left with his people. "Holy shit, what kind of operation is this? The Poles and soldiers are all gone, leaving you officers on the battlefield," Meng Ping shouted. After Cao Qiaoqing and the others left, Zheng Wei stood alone where they had stood, facing the dozens of people on the other side. Here Lu Ligan was also about to go out, when he saw the people on the other side dispersed, and a J person came in. He shook hands with Zheng Wei said something to him, and he walked towards the conference room. The guy who came with Fang Zhe ran out of the conference room, ran to the crowd, and shouted. The people dispersed with a shout. Only Lu Ligan and the others were left in the entire office area outside. Several people in the company. After a while, the J-man came out of the conference room with Fang Zhe. Fang Zhe lowered his head. The J-man greeted Zheng Wei and went out with Fang Zhe. Zheng Wei just walked this way. Is it over like this? Meng Ping shouted. He and Qianfang both looked at Lu Ligan, who smiled and said. How could I know? Zheng Wei walked in and told them, I'm hungry. Lao Meng, you haven't eaten either, right? No, Meng Ping shouted, I asked Su Jiaking and the others to wait for us in Nanshuang. Okay, let's go eat, Zheng Wei said. Then what? Meng Ping asked. Then go back to the company and clean up the battlefield, Zheng Wei said with a smile. Lu Ligan and the others arrived at Nanshuang. Cao Qiaoqing and the others were already here, but they were all sitting there. No one moved their chopsticks. Seeing them coming, Cao Qiaoqing breathed a sigh of relief. He quietly asked Wu Ziyawai, is everything okay? It's okay, Wu Ziyawai said. Where are those bastards? Gone. How did you leave? Walking on legs. No, I'm asking, how did they leave? How do I know? You have to ask them. Eat and eat. You're going to starve to death. When Lu Ligan and the others arrived, Su Jiaking and the others also ate half of their food. Meng Ping asked them to go back first after finishing their meal. He and Qianfang would stay here to see how Zheng Wei cleaned up the battlefield. He knew that Zheng Wei probably didn't want more people to know about this, so he didn't tell Su Jiaking and the others why he and Qianfang still stayed. Wei Venfang opened another private room for the four of them. Although it was almost 3 o'clock now, well past the normal meal time, the kitchen chef was still working overtime waiting for them. After sitting down, Meng Ping couldn't help it anymore and said, no matter what, political commissar, you must tell me what trick you used. You mean those people? Zheng Wei asked. Yes. Of course, use your strength to beat them away. Zheng Wei smiled and said, while she was talking, she glanced at Lu Ligan. Lu Ligan remembered that on the night when Mr. Zhang was there, Zheng Wei asked him how he met a Zheng. This is what he said. He said, yes, he fought with strength. Zheng Wei was probably teasing him now, you fought with strength, and she fought him away with strength. Lu Ligan glared at Zheng Wei, who smiled happily. Meng Ping and Qianfang didn't know what they were laughing at, but they knew that Zheng Wei still didn't want to say too much about this matter. Lu Ligan's eldest brother rang, and he picked up. It was A Zheng. Lu Ligan scolded, damn it, don't think I don't know the good things you have done. You still have the nerve to call me. Brother Lu, my big brother is really out of power in front of me. It's not that I won't answer Brother Liu's call. No, I'll call you as soon as I change the electric board. Damn it, am I talking to you about the phone? I know, Brother Lou, please listen to my explanation. Brother Lou, I can't help it. You think, someone is trying to do this. Let me just watch. It won't hurt the interests of your company, Brother Lou. Well, then just do it. If it hurts Brother Lou, don't worry. I, Zheng, can't do this even if I risk my life. Don't you think so, Brother Lou? Brother Lou, you must be considerate of me. I can't help it. Who asked you to do this? This, Brother Lou, I really don't dare to say this. In Heiken, don't you know? It's just like that. It's hard for us to ask about other important people. Do you think it's Lou, brother? I, Zheng, am not just a little hooligan. How can I have such a big reputation? Damn you, you are so humble now, you are still a little hooligan. Lou Ligan couldn't help laughing and cursed. On the other end of the phone, Zheng also breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, haha, look, Brother Lou is smiling, this matter will be easy to handle. Brother Lou, you are a big man, don't worry about my little one, wait a minute, I'll come to apologize. Brother Lou, you can hit him or scold you if you want. I, Zheng, will never dare to fight back. If I dare, I will be my grandson. What the hell, are you done farting? I'm hanging up the phone now. Hey, wait, Brother Lou, whoever you want is the one from your company. Zheng Wei sat next to Lou Ligan. She heard what Zheng said in the Big Brother. She took the Big Brother from Lou Ligan and asked, my surname is Zheng, are you looking for me? Yes, that, sister, that's the thing. 3 hours is really not enough. What's the problem? It's the boy named Zhang. He is in Changjiang now. I have had someone send him here. This Changjiang, it takes 4 hours to get here, sister. Zheng Wei looked at her watch and said, okay, then you send Mr. Zhang to our office before 8 o'clock in the evening. Okay, I guarantee it will be delivered, sister. On the phone, Zheng was still saying something, but Zheng Wei had already hung up the phone. Lou Ligan looked at Zheng Wei and said, when you talk about cleaning up the battlefield, do you mean to ask them to send Mr. Zhang back? Yes, if Mr. Zhang doesn't show up and we don't fully understand the ins and outs of the matter, there will be sequelae, Zheng Wei said. Lou Ligan nodded, he felt that this was indeed the case. Zheng Wei was really considerate of things. Meng Ping sighed from the side, the merits are immeasurable. The other three people looked at Meng Ping, not knowing what he was feeling. Meng Ping looked at Zheng Wei and said, if you did this, I feel that you might have saved Mr. Zhang's life. Thank you for the reward for reading the book in a different mood. Thank you for all the recommendation votes and reading. I wish everyone good health.